S.K. Chaudhary sir to hand over the mic regarding keynote speaker.
Thank you so much. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. I am grateful to the organizers for giving me an opportunity to chair this session. The session containing two important lectures. First by Dr. M.L. Jat on regenerative agriculture. And second by Dr. B.S. Dwivedi, who is known for his expertise in soil health management. My request to all the youngsters, of course senior colleagues are there, but my request especially to the youngsters, be attentive, try to learn maximum out of this. And probably you will get some of the latest concept. Many things may be known to you, but how these things are put up in perspective and how the priority only to soil management. We move much beyond that. And from that point of view, the first lecture is very important. Dr. M.L. Jat is very well known and state of the art agronomist, I would say. He is rather a system agronomist who understands whole NRM in a much better perspective. So instead of giving his details that he's working presently with ICRISAT, earlier with CIMIT, before that he was in IIFSR Modipuram, and he was in Maize Institute also for some time. So these are just formal outline of his introduction, but importantly, he has contributed a lot in this country for spread and rather comprehensive understanding of conservation agriculture in different ecologies. And this single contribution itself speaks very loudly speaks about his contributions and his way of working in this country. And from that point of view, being ARS scientist diversified in different aspects of agronomy, soil health management, and whole crop management and natural resource management in the country. So Dr. M.L. Jat, please make your presentation, take your own time, and please try to elaborate the concepts of regenerative agriculture in a simplest possible manner so that the young boys and girls, they get maximum out of this. Floor is yours.
Thank you so much, sir, for your kind words. Let me fix it first. Honorable Chair, Co-Chair, and worthy Vice Chancellor, Dr. Dwivedi ji, the directors of the ICR institutions, colleagues, friends. It's indeed a matter of pride for me to be here with the galaxy of the soil scientists, the stalwarts, and give thanks to the university for this opportunity to share some of the thoughts on this topic. As Dr. Indramani ji mentioned about adapting to the challenges, and adaptation is something important. So I adapted on the topic itself. So you see the title of my topic is something, and in the slide it's something else. So that's the first adaptation I have. I modified a bit to put it in a kind of a perspective of slides that I had. So that's adaptation. But it's related to regenerative agriculture and how regenerative agriculture can help us in improving the soil health or regenerating the soil health and also the climate action, because they go hand in hand. Now something on the challenges, it's always good to reiterate the challenges is what our farmers are facing, especially in the smallholder systems. And, climate change comes on the top of it. So we are the region, and Honorable Vice-Chancellor mentioned, this is the region which is most vulnerable to the climate change. That's what is the situation across South Asia, and within the region, there are certain regions which are more vulnerable, like Marathwada. Also, the natural resources are very, very stressed. And I think the stress is more in the vulnerable areas like the region where we are standing. A lot of stresses, other stresses, like biotic stresses are popping up. But at the same time, when we talk about food security, I think smallholder farmers are very, very important, because whatever food we consume in Asia and Africa, 75% of that food is coming from smallholder farmers. So I think we cannot afford to ignore the smallholder farmers from that perspective. Also, when we talk about these ecologies, there is a clear relationship of the dominance of the smallholder farmers, what you see, all the red areas in dot, versus the land degradation, the water, and the malnutrition. And I think there's a clear relationship. All are at the same place. And that's the complexity we are dealing. And that's where, when we talk about nutrition, I think soil health, Dr. Chaudhary mentioned about the relationship of the soil health to the one health. Also, we got a nexus. And sir, there have been many, many repetitions for you, many of you on those slides. But we would like to understand the challenge. And the challenge is this nexus of agriculture, industry, and climate. I think that's the nexus we have created since the starting of the agriculture, and where we moved, through different eras of that progress from industry and agriculture 1.0 to where we are today in the agriculture and industry 4.0, the era of intelligence. But I think in the period of those 60 years, starting sometime in the Green Revolution time until now, the one of the things which is anthropogenic greenhouse gas emission, and which has increased dramatically, and of the 18 gigatons of the total greenhouse gas emissions, the agri-food system, so when I say agri-food system, it's just not production, it's a complete value chain, contribute almost 1/3 of the greenhouse gas emissions. That's a global picture for India. India may be a little less, somewhere high, but that's a global average. And that's costing to our economy, because each of the tons of the carbon dioxide equivalent, which if I translate into the carbon, like 1 crate, that emission leads to something like a $86 to the Indian economy. And now we are moving in a new era of agriculture 5.0, industry 5.0. Now where that is coming? So if you look at this greenhouse gas emissions, of course, the livestock, the methane emission is on top of it. But in agriculture, you see the nitrogen have taken over past 10 years or so. So nitrogen is one of the important contributing factor to the greenhouse gas emissions currently, globally. Now, how it is happening? If you look at the nitrogen use efficiency, and we did this study in 3 countries, India, Malawi, and Ethiopia, and which came out a few months back in Nature Sustainability, this paper, the nitrogen surplus. So you can see these are the 3 major crops. So you see maize, you can see the India's map, where is the nitrogen surplus, more of the red is the surplus. Also, it's moving, and this is wheat, a lot of surplus of the nitrogen, and this is about the rice again. And that surplus is creating a kind of a problem at the efficiency. Now, where are the opportunities to save that and improve the efficiency? And if you look at, sorry for those fonts, but if you look at the India maize, rice, and wheat, and you can see the fertilizer advisory, better prescription to the farmers. Also, the high nitrogen fertilizers, legumes, manures, those are the kind of immediate solutions to improve the nitrogen use efficiency. That's what is the highlight of our paper. Now, if you go further down, and we did this one, and a paper we just submitted to Nature Sustainability, looking at the data across South Asia, from Andhra Pradesh, from Bangladesh, and Bihar and Eastern UP, from Nepal, Tarai, Odisha, Punjab, Haryana. And you can see the efficiency and the surplus, that ratio. 44 is the efficiency, 78 is surplus. You can see, the high input, low output, high input, high output, low input, high output, and low input and low output. Those are the categories, and you can see those boxes where they are fitting into. I think that's the complexity. When we talk about nitrogen, how nitrogen is contributing to greenhouse gas emissions. So this whole crisis of the climate is on the top of the agenda across the world. And in the COP28, just recently concluded on 12th of December at Dubai, I think the global community again reiterated the challenge. And they say we have to go for fast tracking of the energy transition, fixing the climate finance, and then putting nature, people, lives, and livelihood at the heart of the climate action. So those 4 keywords are very, very important when we talk about climate action. And that's what is coming out of the COP28, and the agenda is underpinning everything with full inclusivity. Inclusivity is something very, very important, not in isolation. That's what we talk about system, the whole system, not in isolation, not in compartments. Now, we have a lot of those grand challenges. The grand challenges of climate-induced environmental issues. When we talk about land degradation, worldwide India got 140 million hectares. There are different figures coming from different sources, but more or less. Poor soil fertility, erosion, stresses, temperature, water, heat, all those things which are impacting the productivity and the smaller land holding. Now, that's where we are as of now, 0.138 hectare per person. Nutrition, as I indicated, 2 billion people suffer from that hidden hunger globally. And I think India got 224 million. Figures may be plus minus, but that's what more or less we are there. So those are the grand challenges. And those grand challenges are interconnected. We have more population, that means we are expanding the agriculture, we are making use of indiscriminate use of the inputs, and they are leading to many, many aspects, and ultimately that creates conflicts. And conflicts creates unrest. And that unrest is taking our peace out. So the soil to that peace is something important. And that's what we have committed. We have committed to go for achieve those sustainable development goals by 2030. Only 7 annual harvests to go to achieve those sustainable development goals. I think time is less, so we need to move faster. Not only stop degenerating our natural resources, but regenerating our natural resources for our secured future. That's why we talk about regenerative agriculture. So, as I mentioned in the morning, sustaining soil for advancing peace. That's what I took from Dr. Ratanlal's paper. So, soil health is important for peace. And I think there are many stressors to that peace. And those stressors include the soil degradation and anthropogenic greenhouse gas emissions, both. Where from those are coming, ultimately they lead to the civil wars, unrest, and all those things. So soil health is important from the peace perspective. If we are peaceful, I think we can do a good job. If we are not peaceful, even if you have a lot of money and a lot of food, there is a problem. So peace is something important, not only the food security. Now, sustainable production and responsible consumption, 2 words, is very, very important for that peace. That's what we need to do to fix our climate problem, to fix our greenhouse gas emissions, to fix our soil degradation challenges. Now, when we talk about soil, let's open up the Pandora's box of the soil carbon, right? So the Pandora's box of the soil carbon is, until middle of the 20th century, the combined effect of the land use or farming were largest source of the emission. But then we have changed. But we have accrued this 133 gigatons of the carbon deficit. How to repay it? And I think that's where the regenerative agriculture, carbon credit, all those things started in the thought process. Because that deficit we have to fill. And if you fill that deficit, that creates an opportunity for moving toward those regenerative farming practices. Now we have to see the trajectory for transitioning from a degenerative to regenerative agriculture. So on the left side, we go with the conventional, which is a degenerative one, where our focus is a technical system design. And the technologies and techniques which are more from a fragmented thinking. That's why we are entering into the problem of degenerating. So the fragmented thinking only with technical design system is not going to take us anywhere. So what we need to do, we need to move towards less energy requiring systems, which are restorative, which are regenerative, and that needs a living system design thinking, or living system design. A living system design is living and whole system thinking, not compartments. That whole system thinking is something important from a regenerative agriculture perspective. So that's what is the trajectory moving from the degenerative to regenerative. Now when we go with the regenerative agriculture, what is this regenerative agriculture all about? So regenerative agriculture is written here, and I can read, is a prominent alternative seeking transforming the food systems and production, food production, and repairing the ecosystem. Now how to do it? Use soil conservation as an entry point. So that's the foundation. And regenerate and contribute to the multiple provisioning, regulating, and supporting the ecosystem services. That's what we have to do. To enhance not only the environmental, but also the social and economic dimension of the sustainable food system. And that's what I say, inclusivity. And that's what was emphasized in the COP28. Inclusivity is something important. If we work in isolation, looking at the environmental perspective and leave aside the social and economic, we are not going to achieve it. If you just look at the economic, doubling farmer income, and don't look at the environmental aspect, we may end up in a problem. So that inclusivity is something important. There are many, many principles and practices for regenerative agriculture. So again, I'm not going to read all of those, but there are no-till or residues or carbon sequestration, cover crops, biochar, many, many things. And there are practices around. So there are many, many regenerative agriculture practices. The only one thing is, when we talk about regenerative agriculture, don't forget few things. One, how to improve the soil health, how to sequester the carbon, how to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, how to improve the biodiversity, how to improve the water retention into the soil, and how to improve the farmer's livelihood. Anything does those is regenerative. So I'm not dogmatic in terms of the definition. Farmer doesn't care about the definition. We have to think about these 5, 6 elements. Whatever contribute to those is regenerative. Now, we started working on regenerative agriculture. We've been working on conservation agriculture, regenerative agriculture. KRISHI also, we started working on and I was discussing with the regenerative agriculture living labs for the dry lands, for black soils, for red soils. My colleague Gajanand is sitting here who is leading the effort. But there are many, many benefits of those. And those benefits are coming from the long-term work, what we've been working together with Dr. Chaudhary, Dr. Dwivedi, and many of the ICR institutions. So look at these tangible gains. When we go with the regenerative agriculture, and this is the synthesis of the 20 years of work, what we've been doing across the region, the yield gains at the system level, don't see crop in isolation, system. So the system productivity went up, the water use efficiency went up, the labor requirement came down, the energy requirement came down, the profitability went up, and the greenhouse gas emissions came down. That's a summary of a lot of those work. But on top of that, conservation agriculture or regenerative agriculture can dramatically improve the biodiversity. We have some evidence, but Dr. Dwivedi mentioned this morning even, there is not much work on it. I think we have to strengthen that work on the soil biology, on the soil physics, increase the soil organic matter, and bring a lot of positive environmental externalities and minimize the abiotic stresses when we do all of those. And we have all the evidence. And that is what is the regenerative agriculture. And there are some synthesis what I said in this paper, what we came up in 2020. But the management practices which enhance the soil carbon sequestration and reduce the greenhouse gas emission, there are many, many. So you can see a long list of those practices, and they are contributing towards the regenerative agriculture. There are details in this paper what we came out. But this is one synthesis we did, sir, and I shared with you also, Reksab, a paper just came out in Advances in Agronomy, the synthesis of how regenerative agriculture is helping. And this is on the carbon. So you can see if you got less than 5 years of the no-till agriculture or regenerative agriculture, or 5 to 10 years or more than 10 years, I think we have to have the patience. We cannot change things overnight. That's the one thing. So if you go with the time, I think compared to the conventional, you are building the soil carbon. So this is one snapshot across the two depths of the soil. But there are many challenges associated with the sequestration of the carbon. And I'm taking carbon, but that's one of the main indicator of the soil health or rejuvenating the soil health. The retention of the carbon in a soil is not unlimited. There is a carbon saturation, especially in the region where we are sitting. So we should consider that, we should think about that. The carbon storage in soil is non-permanent, it's not forever, right? We have to be very careful on that. And there are many socio-economic constants when we talk about that sequestration. And those socio-economic constants again are listed in the paper what I indicated. If we talk about the emission reduction and soils and all those things, and there are scenarios. So these are the global scenarios built up. And you can see the high-level scenarios on cumulative emission reduction, where are those coming from. And I think you can see here, improved nitrogen use efficiency can reduce significantly. So nitrogen is one of the important components. What is happening to this? Am I doing something wrong or? And you can see the crop rotations and the land sparing. These are all towards the regenerative agriculture. So I think regenerative agriculture is very important, not only sustaining the soil health, but also reducing the greenhouse gas emissions from agriculture. Now we did this study, cost-effective climate change mitigation opportunities in Indian agriculture. And I think you can see there are many technologies which are negative cost. That means you save on the cost of production and you reduce the emission. So with this in agriculture, I think we can straightway 80 million tons of the carbon dioxide equivalent in India can be saved with negative cost technologies. So there are a lot of opportunities, but how to take those to the farmer is still a challenge. Also, when we talk about regenerative agriculture, we have many discourses. And I think we have to deal with those discourses. So you can see these discourses. There are 9 discourses. People are calling it organic agriculture or natural farming or agroecology or nature positive or conservation agriculture. I mean, many. And we indulge into the definition. No, farmers don't need definition. They need technologies which can really help us. But that creates a problem. Greenwashing and diluting the impact, potential impact of those regenerative agriculture practices and create those tensions. And I think we have to get rid of those tensions. So how to do it? What are the strategies to get rid of those tensions on the regenerative agriculture and those discourses? And I think one thing is we need to have a regenerative agriculture discourse coalition. All people like this platform, let's sit together and come with a consensus. What is really helping to the farmer? Forget about the definition. Forget about your philosophy, right? Farmers don't need philosophy. They need some option which can really help us. So that's a discourse coalition is something important, and Dr. Chaudhary ji is steering, this platform on conservation agriculture. But I think we need to do, have more inclusivity of those other aspects and make a real good platform where people can come together, have the collective wisdom and action. System-based solutions, not in isolation, not rice, not wheat, not weed management, not nutrient management. Farmer got a system. If we got something which fits into the farmer's stream, they will like it. If it doesn't fit into the farmer's stream, the farmer is not adopting. Sorry, but it's not fitting into their system. So systems approach is something very important. We have the multi-criteria analysis, not only the yield and not only the economics. We have to have many indicators, and I think we need to see things from that perspective, from a sustainability. And that needs a well-defined theory of change at different levels. Knowledge and capacity gap, we have to bridge. There are a lot of capacity and knowledge gaps, I think, especially on these new technologies. And one size fits all kind of approach. It's not going to help us. There is nothing like one size fits all. We are dealing with the diversity of the farmers, the farming systems, the farmer circumstances. So I think we need to have science evidence-based investment and policy. And on top of that, the behavioral and social science. That is, without that we cannot reach, because we are dealing with the behavior. I mean, if you are in a family, you got 5 members, they are having different behavior, you are struggling. You are talking about diversity of the farmers, millions of those farmers. I think that's something important. Now, for that, we need a discovery to delivery strategy for taking the regenerative agriculture forward. And in that one, we need quality science. We cannot compromise. No babas, no fatwas. Quality science. And that's the science for the food system transformation, keeping those sustainable development goals on top of the agenda. That is science we need. And also the partnership. Akela chana bahar nahi phod sakta. We have to be collective, together. Bring our all the complementarities and work together. We have greater and pooled investment, more investment in science, in development. And then that focus on the one health, the production to consumption continuum, not in isolation. And finally, the science of delivery, the science of scaling, extension is not simple. It's the toughest science. So I think we need to have the science of delivery. Now, when we talk about mainstreaming challenges of regenerative agriculture, as I said, research and development is generally component, focus, compartmentalized, all those things, which really limits the transformative potential. And there are trade-offs. So we need a systems approach, because we are dealing with the socio-economic, genetic, and ecological dimension. That's the farming system. So we have to think that farming system. And in that context, we also need to see the trade-off. So ecosystem services, then profitability, where we converge. I think that's something important. And with that, I put few slides on the agenda, how to move toward the discovery to delivery on the regenerative agriculture. And the first one is one size doesn't fit all. We have to make our recipes where we are. And in that case, we can have the common set of the principles, the practices. But I think we are dealing with the diversity of the farming system. So a tailored approach is required. You have to make tailor-made approach, right? We cannot wear all the 8-number shoe here. Otherwise, many of the people will go barefoot. So we have to tailor it, you know. So same in agriculture, we have to do it. And the tailor-made solutions through integrating genetic, social, and economic dimensions. I think that's something important. And I had this example, we've been talking organic, regenerative, all over, natural. Do we have varieties for that? Are we breeding for that? If something succeeds, my variety is great. If something fails, regenerative agriculture is not good or economic practice is not good. I think we have to think about that. Now, this is an example when we talk about the soils, and I'm talking about diversity. So we are working here in Maharashtra in 7 districts with GSPA. And we got this soil texture. And you can see within those districts, different districts, how the soil texture, even within villages is changing. So we cannot have a ready-made capsule. We have to tailor it, right? Just trying to bring a context from the state of Maharashtra. And you can see the soil nutrient status in those districts. Somewhere, all those things. So you can see a lot of variability happening. So I think we need to have, tailor-made solutions around those. Now, another one is what to target where, right? Targeting is something important. As I say, one size doesn't fit all. That brings us to the targeting part. So when we talk about regenerative agriculture, I think we need to have the proper mapping of the cropping systems or the farming systems, and ICR's Farming System Institute have came up with a new cropping system atlas that gives us some guidance, but I think we need to go to the granularity, the block level or whatever. And maybe we can use the geospatial tools now, a lot of advancement happening in the geospatial tool for mapping of those things and define the domain of the regenerative agriculture, what kind of regenerative agriculture, what systems can go where. So that domain is something important, and this is coming from my colleague who've been working on those aspects. Now, also that brings us, remember the nitrogen is the most important factor which is contributing to the greenhouse gas emission. I think we need to explore the alternate sources. And in terms, alternate sources, the biologicals, the biological nitrogen fixation or biological nitrification inhibition, those are important, which can contribute. Also, the work what we've been doing in the nutrient management, not only the site specific or plot specific, but I think the landscape specific nutrient management in a kind of rolling topography that you have in Maharashtra on the upland or midland or lowland, you need to have a different strategy. So this is one example, sir. We got work in Ethiopia and first of its kind work on the landscape scale nutrient management, and it's also in the digital tool form. We need bundle solutions. Through a phased build-on approach, we cannot have those bundle solutions overnight, but we can build them in a phased manner. Through harnessing, again, this is something important, the power of the soil biology. I think we haven't harnessed. And that's something important when we talk about regenerative agriculture. And I think we should be having the soil biobanks in that context. Also the power of the digital tools. The government of India are now talking about digital public infrastructure. How the soil digital public infrastructure can help us in regenerating the soil and making better decisions. That's what we've been working. On this one, we are working on the digital advisory tools and customizing at the local level. So we are working with the Juari Farm Hub, designing those tools and data in the background. So data is something important, as was mentioned by Dr. Dwivedi. At the same time, I think we need to move from the plot to the landscape and sociological scale. We cannot, be, just sitting here at the microbe or the plant level or the plot level. I think we need to make a move. And in that case, the holistic and integrated approach is required, and we need to have those three levels of our work at the farm, at the landscape, and the entire food system level. On this regenerative, we've been working with ICR and governments on regenerative landscapes. And I think this is a classical example coming from Bundelkhand, and which can be applied in Maharashtra. We started working on the landscape approach, and we are working in these geographies. So different, geographies where rainfall ranging from 400 to 1500 millimeter, and landscape work is helping. So these are some of the output. The income is tripled, the greenhouse gas emission came down, the intensity went up, the migration is reversed. So the in-migration happening because of the livelihood opportunities, because we are conserving water, bringing water back, all those things, arresting land degradation, which was awarded recently, the UNDP Biodiversity Award. Regenerative agriculture and vibrant industry. And Dr. Chaudhary mentioned one of the important points, the partnership, public-private. When we talk about private, think about the business. Without business, they will not be here. So I have to bring that synergy between the resilient agriculture and make a vibrant industry, if we can bring that one. And in that context, I think the carbon credit or green credit, what Government of India have announced, is something important which can be really helpful in making agriculture resilient and having industry vibrant. So I'll not again read all those things, but there are ample opportunities through ecosystem services when we talk about regenerative agriculture. But that needs a lot of new tools, approaches, methods, all those things. And there are a lot of those things. So for example, a company sitting next to you, Grow Indigo, got a low carbon rice in the market, right? And paying farmers incentive for the low carbon rice. So I think those are the opportunities for us to work through. But that needs a business model. And a business model, when we talk about, that can help us in identifying the niche for regenerative agriculture, but that needs comprehensive assessment of the consumer perceptions, consumer preferences, behavior, all those aspects, market size, that makes the business model. And capacity development. So people talk about capacity development. I say 3 C's are important, not only the capacity, but the consensus and confidence. So capacity takes to the confidence to the consensus. Until we have consensus, still we will not be able to make a headway, even if we go to capacity. So I think those 3 C's are equally important. So we need to have a new cadre of regenerative agriculture, community of practitioners and things, centers of excellence on regenerative agriculture or living labs and things like that. So this is what we are doing at ICRISAT. Science evidence-based policy and investment, I showed those benefits of conservation agriculture or regenerative agriculture, but then optimization of regenerative agriculture is something important. Location-specific optimization is something important. This one, so together with Dr. Chaudhary, we came up with this one. There are 3 kinds of food systems. So one is what is that? Subsistence. Another is conventional. Third is the regenerative one. And if you have their linkages with the sustainable development goals, both subsistence and conventional got negatively linked with many of the sustainable development goals, whereas regenerative agriculture systems, agri-food systems are positively linked with many of those sustainable development goals. So if you take a big picture and take it to the policy, that can help us. So finally, the last slide, some of those messages. The first one is a change of people's mindset. I think that problem is here, not there. It's here. That's something very, very important. When we talk about soil health, we need to think about the combination of natural resource management practices, agronomy, and holistic and systems approach, including the biophysical, socio-economic, all those aspects. So it's just not treating the soil, but we have to deal with the socio-economic and other aspects. That need a paradigm shift from a crop to the farming system to the socio-ecological level approach. So that's required. I think we need to have a mission mode. I don't know, national mission or whatever way, but I think we need to have that one, integrating all those nature positive, agroecology, natural, regenerative, conservation. Let's bring them together rather than diluting through those discourses. Investment in research and innovation is something important. And finally, I think the carbon credits which Government of India has launched are some of the opportunities to capitalize on and incentivize farmers to take the regenerative agriculture forward. Thank you so much, sir. I might have taken a little extra time, 5 minutes more, but sorry.
Doesn't matter. It was very, very useful, and it was liked. I believe it was liked by each one of us. So give a very big applause, a loud applause to Dr. Amel Jat. And all you will agree that it was a treat to listen to he and his ideas. So thank you, Dr. Jat.
Thank you, sir.
At the end, I will again summarize the key messages out of this lecture, which is a very, very important lecture. Next, I would like to invite Dr. B.S. Dwivedi. Dr. Jat, please, you take a seat there. He started his career through ARS system, posted in ICR Research Complex for hilly region, ICR NEH, Northeastern Hilly Region, Umiam. And he almost all the fields in soil science, as a teacher, as a researcher, as an extension worker, and also in difficult areas. But beyond that, he has added benefit which no soil scientist can get in this country, that Mrs. Vandana Dwivedi was always with him, and she was altogether working with the Department of Agriculture, Farmers Welfare and Niti Aayog. That means she was linked with the developmental aspect of agriculture, particularly the soil science, including the organic farming, and every day evening discussions over a cup of इंट्रोडक्शन देने से थोड़ा हटके
She was so busy with her things, and I was having my own. But anyway, it was always a strength. So, friends, the topic given to me by the organizers is soil health. So, soil health restoration, and I have chosen added challenges and opportunities. What are the challenges and what are the opportunities? So, many of these things are you may see this is a mainly group of soil scientists and natural resource management scientists, so we are aware of those things. So, but a few things I would like to just highlight in this, that what we wish to say. The content of my talk will be more on the health of Indian soils, current health of Indian soils, and of soil health evaluation and monitoring infrastructure what we have at the moment, and what are government initiatives to improve or restore or rejuvenate soil health, and then soil health management options, what are the options available to us, and then what is the way forward, or you can say what are the opportunities available to us. So, soil health, see, for this August body, there is no need to go in definition of soil health. There are several definitions given, but then I have, merged the words and of several authorities, and then this could be a complete definition of soil. And as we know that soil is not only a medium of plant growth, it has several functions, several ecosystem services which soils provide. So, the soil health should not be taken into a context of a very narrow context of plant growth or yield, but it has several other dimensions, and how it is related to society and how it is related to overall well-being of the civilization. Actually, that is the more important aspect, rather than addressing or seeing soil as a medium of plant growth alone. Now, here actually in this slide, what is very important, 2 points I want to make. One, the growth of Indian agriculture, which shows that the area under, net sown area remains more or less same, around 140 million hectares, but the production and productivity of the agriculture, of the food grain has increased. Now, this shows the advantage of the technology. This shows the collective strength of the farmer, policy, and scientists, researchers. That's what India has shown, and then the country has become such a role model to many of the countries in the world, that how, the green revolution came, and post green revolution how we have grown. So, this is generally food grain production, but the similar growth we have made in other commodities and other enterprises of agriculture also. But the other side of this actually figure is very interesting. Now, you see, though the area is maintained, the net sown area is maintained around 140 million hectare, but the area under barren and cultivated land has come down, and area under non-agricultural uses has increased. This shows that diversion of agricultural land, prime agricultural land, to the non-agricultural areas. So many highways are coming, then industry is coming, cities are expanding, and all of these are not expanding in barren lands. These are not expanding in non-cultivable land. These are mostly expanding in the prime agricultural lands. And what is coming to agriculture is actually this area. Now, the decrease in the barren and uncultivated lands, that is what is maintaining the status quo in your net cultivated area. I mean to say that the agriculture, the area that is coming to agriculture is actually wasteland, is barren land. That remediative cost of that land is very high. So, what I want to insist here, want to underline here, is diversion of prime lands to non-agricultural purposes. Somehow, when country is growing, economy is growing, demand for land is growing for other sectors, so it is not always possible to really maintain all the land in agriculture, but there should be some policies, some kind of actually framework, that to what extent these prime agricultural lands can be actually diverted to non-agricultural areas. Some effort has already been, on prime agricultural lands, that was actually made by NBS-LUP long back, but I think that has to be further refined and further strengthened to really guide the policy makers, that what are the prime lands, how we define prime lands, and how the diversion of prime lands is actually going to make agriculture more, you can say less cost friendly, and rather more, less remunerative, you can say, because cost of cultivation and cost of improvement of those lands will be very high. Now, if you see the challenges, currently we see NPK fertility status of the soil if you see, and if you merge the low and medium fertility ranges in one category, what we call fertilizer responsive category, you will see that most of the soils are deficient in nitrogen and phosphorus. Those come in low and medium category. Potassium, of course, you can say 50% in low and medium category, 50% in high or less responsive category. Micronutrient deficiency, secondary and micronutrient deficiency has emerged as a major challenge in soil health. And not only sulfur, but sulfur as a secondary nutrient, then zinc, boron. So you can say that anywhere you go in the country, at least 6 nutrients are deficient. Nitrogen, phosphorus, potassium, sulfur, zinc, boron. And now deficiencies of manganese, deficiencies of iron and copper are also emerging up in small areas. Nutrient use efficiency continues to be very low, particularly in case of nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, and then for micronutrients, it is abysmally low. And then there are other challenges, land degradation, soil erosion, salinity, acidity, depletion of soil organic carbon, multi-nutrient deficiencies, subsoil compaction, so many soil health problems are there. For many of these problems, actually, there is not very good data available. So we say soil compaction, what are the areas where soil compaction is a problem? And what will be the, so as in the previous lecture, Dr. Jat has very repeatedly actually said that one size fits all. That approach, so we say soil compaction, but where soil compaction is a problem and where actually we need the technology specific to address soil compaction problem. So those actually kind of databases and those kind of mapping, that is very much required. Now, there is soil organic carbon stock. An exercise has been made, which is low. When we talk of soil health, we talk of mostly organic carbon. And we say that organic carbon is epicenter of soil health, everything revolves around organic carbon. If soil has a high carbon content, you can say that the soil is very healthy, and because most of the nutrient availability, soil physical properties, biological properties, everything is related to organic carbon. But what kind of strong database we have on organic carbon? Now, an exercise has been made. I think that was in the first estimate of FAO, when NBSS, LUP and Indian Institute of Soil Science that made contributed to the FAO's soil carbon stock map. And that was also based on, long-term database on soil carbon. So we don't know how much of that was actually of a recent origin, how much was of 10 or 15 years old. Thereafter, I think now a 5th or 6th assessment of FAO has come, and we have not contributed much to that. And we talk too much of, and that's how, what I want to really emphasize to my younger colleagues and to the working faculty actually of this university and of all the universities of Maharashtra, because this is a collective seminar of all 4 chapters. See, how actually strong database we create, even for a state, any one state. Such data is not available. What is the current level of soil carbon stock in any state? Broader actually perspective, and they see taking few samples and then analyzing and then using geostatistical measures and all things, then you can have some estimate. But what is actually happening at the ground level, at a micro level, if you develop a technology, and then you should know that what is the status, and that actually is very important. This actually point need to be since this session fortunately is chaired by the leader of NRM, actually SMD. So I understand, sir, to point out this is a very important point, that how to have a real, actually a real-time carbon database of the soils of different countries. And now as far as Maharashtra is concerned, actually a very good work has been done in the ECRIP on secondary and micronutrients. Dr. Katkar is here, and I think here also in this university also there is center of micronutrients. Otherwise at PDKV there is a center, only one center in Maharashtra. So a very good work has been done, and it has come in the Atlas. So I don't want to emphasize more, but what I want to say that when we say that Maharashtra soils are generally actually not as exhausted as soils of other many, intensively cultivated states, what we can say. But even then, the deficiencies of nutrients like sulfur, zinc, then this iron and boron are coming. Of course, some other nutrients also are there, but for these 4 nutrients, actually, we should not always say that all soils are sufficient and we do not need. So the package of practices that actually are published. And in agrosco also, I understand these things need to be discussed, that we need a region-specific nutrient management package actually, so as to address these deficiencies which are coming up actually. Otherwise, these deficiencies will go on coming, and like the soils of Punjab or like the soils of Haryana or other many areas, the widespread deficiencies will be there, and then it will be very difficult to come back to restore those deficiencies. Other actually distribution of salt affected soils, acid soils, so many, I mean, as far as soil, since I am talking of soil health, this is not related to specific to Maharashtra or Marathwada, but then estimates have been made. So soil health means there are so many challenges actually, challenges of salinity, challenges of acidity, and soil pollution is also emerging as a very good challenge, on which database is not available. Again, now it is not only metal pollution only. So metal pollution, microplastics, and there are some good reviews, but as far as India is concerned, where is the data on microplastics pollution? And how it is affecting actually the human health, how it is affecting the plant health, how it is affecting the health of aquatic life, not known. So again, when we talk of soil health, it is not related to soil fertility, it is related to soil physical properties, soil biological properties, soil pollution. So some, it is not only heavy metal pollution is there, and that too, except arsenic, not much information is available. So I think creation of database and then addressing those problems, coming out with region-specific solutions is important. But for that, actually assessing the problem is the first step. Now, what are the causes of this much of widespread soil health deterioration are all known to this body. I need not emphasize all this. So these all are actually reasons. And in the last the last bullet is fertilizer policies. So sometimes fertilizer policies are also important and add directly or indirectly to soil health deterioration. As we brought NBS, the government of India brought NBS in 2010, keeping urea out of the ambit of NBS. So the cost of fertilizer, P and K has gone up, and cost of nitrogen actually remained same. And we know that nitrogen is the biggest culprit as far as GHG emission, as far as so much of pollution, but it is so cheap that farmers get easily, and then they want to invest in this sometimes because of unawareness, sometimes because of cheap availability of nitrogen. And then we say that this is excess nitrogen, this should have not been applied, rather than our investment should have gone on incentivization of good agriculture practices. And we subsidize actually nitrogen. And current fertilizer subsidy is more than 2 lakh crore rupees. 2 lakh crore rupees. So it's huge amount. And subsidizing what? Subsidizing for GHG emission. So this is also actually important. And again, on this point also, somewhere the such group of intellectuals should always advise the policymakers. Though it is very important, very difficult, it is not that easy, because those who are at the helm of the policy, they think, and we see many times urea is a more cost of urea and urea subsidy, bringing it under NBS is more a politico-technical kind of question. But then hammering again and again, telling again and again the truth, that is also important actually. So this actually information I have taken from one of Dr. Ratan Lal's actually papers, which he actually sent for publication in the Journal of Indian Society of Soil Science earlier. And this is a very good analysis how he says that is extractive farming. Extractive farming means you take more and more from the soil and do not return anything to the soil. And you go ahead continuously with this. So for few years it is okay, but if you go continuously for extractive farming, then how ultimately leads to low productivity and poor use efficiency of inputs, after actually degrading the soil, physical health, soil biological health, and all kind of problems. So, and in the base of that, what is the base? Base is continuous extractive farming. And what is the outcome, ultimate output is low productivity and poor use efficiency of inputs. So we say that input use efficiency is very low. So it is not only fertilizer, input as a whole efficiency is very low. Productivity, which leads to low productivity, which leads to higher cost of production, and what is in the base of that? Continuous extractive farming. So, and that's how soil health has gone down, and then the quality of soil, quality of water, quality of air has gone down. Everything is because you are taking everything from the soil, not returning anything, and then the result is this. Now, this point I was emphasizing that how the price of nitrogen, 2019, when this NBS was introduced, the price of nitrogen was 10 rupees per kilogram, and it is 11 rupees now. As far as phosphorus is concerned, nitrogen is concerned, you can see how the price rise is there. And when this is the price rise, I mean change in the price of per kg of phosphorus and potassium, then why farmer, naturally the production has gone down, nutrient use, fertilizer use ratio has widened, and fertilizer use consumption ratio, last year it was somewhere around 7:4:1, and this year it is 11. Nitrogen 11 point something, recent statistics, to potassium 1. So 11 kg nitrogen to 1 kilogram of potassium. This is the current consumption ratio which has recently brought out in the current statistics. So under this scenario, actually, when there is unbalanced use of fertilizers, then actually, and these ratios which I am telling, actually these ratios are national figures. If you go to state level ratios, of course Maharashtra, fortunately it is, as was pointed out earlier, it is relatively balanced. But in states like Rajasthan, Haryana, Punjab, UP, many states it is very, very high, even 45 nitrogen, 45 to 1. Nitrogen 45, 1 kilogram of potassium. So this kind of ratios are there. So these things actually lead to deterioration in soil health and continuous use of that kind of fertilizer. So 1 or 2 years it is okay. Now, this is very interesting result of long-term fertilizers. Long-term fertilizers, as you all know, long-term fertilizer experiments are continuing for last 50 plus years, started in 71, 72. Now, those experiments actually indicate that wherever actually, unbalanced use of fertilizers was there, either N alone or NP or no fertilizer was applied, there has been reduction in carbon content of the soil. In most cases, you will see initial carbon content was more, but where control or N or NP was used, the carbon content has gone down. And with this, sometimes a message is wrongly actually communicated that fertilizer use reduces soil organic carbon, or fertilizer use is detrimental to soil organic carbon content. But long-term experiments has categorically indicated that whenever there is a balance of NPK or NPK plus FIM or integrated use of nutrient is there, at most of the situations except barring few where initial organic carbon content was very high, like Pantnagar, the carbon content was either maintained or improved, which shows that fertilizer use per se is not detrimental to soil health. It is unbalanced use of fertilizers, because fertilizer is not a pesticide, not a poison. But see, anything if you use in excess, whatever is the advantage, any medicine, even milk or ghee or protein, anything you take in excess or unbalanced form, that becomes harmful. And that's what is happening with fertilizer. So fertilizer use per se is not harmful, but what long-term experiments have proven, but unbalanced use of fertilizer, which is very common, is actually detrimental. Now, infrastructure, soil health infrastructure in India, soil health evaluation actually now soil testing laboratories of the country, today more than 1,500 soil testing laboratories are there, with annual analyzing capacity of around 14 million samples per year. And these soil testing laboratories are mostly owned by state governments. Some are with fertilizer industry, and the facilities available with universities or with KVKs are actually not accounted in this because they are not given any target. So these laboratories have some target-based actually analyzing soil analysis, and that's how along with these laboratories, actually, say state universities, CAUs, and KVKs are also having soil testing facilities, and they also help farmers in giving soil tests. Then now actually some soil testing kits and gadgets are coming. So every alternate day you will find some kit is there, and they claim that in 5 minutes it will test. Some say in half an hour you will give all tests of the soil. And many of those kits, actually I am not against those kits and this, but many of those kits are developed by those who may not be hardcore soil scientists or those related with soil and those who understand soil testing. And so you go for adding anything and that will give some analysis, some value. And how that value is really, relates with your fertilizer recommendation, relates with crop response, and whether that is really available nutrient or what. So it is very difficult. And many such kits are coming. So actually I wish to emphasize from this platform also, I underlined this earlier also in some of my write-ups, that actually there should be some institutional mechanism that people should not be allowed to bring such kind of kits to the market unless it is evaluated by some lead institutions and let ICR or from NRM or from some platforms. I mean, there should be some evaluation, and once they actually give a green signal, then only they should go to market. Otherwise, then after 5-6 months they make money, or 2 years they make money, and then the kit is also disappeared, and then everything is over, and then people again come to, and it harms actually the soil testing infrastructure in 2 ways. One, during that period, people go to wrong, and come with a wrong report, and so that gives a kind of confusion. Second, actually, policy makers, for them, they always think that this is a wonderful idea, you are testing in half an hour without any infrastructure, without any manpower, and without any investment. So why not to go for this? So they keep on guiding the leaders of NRM, that why should this not be done? So we have to actually be cautious while evaluating and while actually dealing with these kind of things. Then government initiatives, there are several government initiatives. Soil health card, we all know that soil health card scheme was launched in 2015, ran for two schedules, and large number of soil health cards have been distributed to the farmers. But then the utility of those soil health cards, quality of those soil health cards, the information given in those, the kind of soil testing, the kind of recommendation given, there was a mixed feedback to Government of India, and that's how they have revised the soil health card scheme. So it is not, it is still continuing, but not on that large scale. And now it is actually subsumed with RKVY, and then there are QR code for soil sample, and so as to really understand that yes, where the sample is really taken and from where it is coming, to track this genesis of this, and MOUs with schools and village level soil testing laboratories are also being established. So this scheme is completely transformed. And then there are several other schemes of Government of India which directly or indirectly deal with soil health, and those are initiatives you can consider, initiatives for improving soil health, national project on organic farming, PKVY, NMSA, MOVCD, NER, which are for Northeastern region, NFSM, RKVY, BPKP, which is now renamed as National Mission on Natural Farming. Now PM Pranam has come, integrated fertilizer management system. So these all are actually initiatives which are actually dealing directly or indirectly with soil health. So that shows that actually government is also very much concerned with the soil health issues. So now coming to opportunities, what can be done? So sir, can I take some time? Now actually soil test based fertilizer use. This is very, very important as far as soil health management is concerned, because I have already highlighted the kind of imbalance in fertilizer use there in different parts of the country. Now, in this context, actually, the soil test crop response scheme, STCR scheme, so some centers are there, and I think most of us are aware this is a very novel scheme which actually gives recommendation based on the soil testing. And this approach was initially actually given by Professor Ramamurthy at IRI, and then that was actually came in the shape of STCR scheme, soil test crop response correlation scheme, which has different centers in the country and have developed now recommendation packages for different crops, and those publications have also brought out by this scheme. Now, and so they have given different kind of packages. You see, fertilizer alone if you have to apply this, but if you go for INM, then you can reduce depending on the soil testing and yield target. But the experimental actually framework of that the STCR scheme is such that you can give fertilizer recommendation for moderate level of yield target. But if your yield target is high, then sometimes it becomes difficult because the fertilizer, the experimental framework is like that. Now the farmers' aspirations are different. You have to give a recommendation for different level of farmers. Those who are resource-rich farmers, they need actually higher level of fertilizer, higher level of productivity, and recommendation for higher level of productivity. Now for that level of productivity, you need some different kind of approaches. This is also in one way site-specific nutrient management, but then there is need to look beyond STCR. And that is also very important to be actually integrated with our ongoing research program. That STCR is not everything that is good, but then that need to be actually what I say, looking beyond STCR. And one way is going for site-specific nutrient management. And site-specific nutrient management, because that itself is time doesn't permit, but it is literature available. Some of our publications are also there, and then you can know. So here actually setting the target, assessing the indigenous nutrient supplying capacity, and fixing the fertilizer application, keeping in view the fertilizer use efficiency, and nutrient input through different sources available in the soil. So what is the gap left? Only that for that fertilizer is to be applied. So this is one approach. So we can, try and can give recommendation based on that also. But again, field specific recommendations and scaling those recommendations for an area, that needs decision support tools. So some tools are also there, but a lot of work is needed in that area. And some other gadgets for at least for nitrogen use efficiency. Nitrogen actually we are of, in fact, I personally am of the opinion that nitrogen estimation in the soil testing laboratory, somehow we have to give up that and leave it. Because it is so frequently changing, nitrogen content of the soil. And there are, if you use gadgets like leaf color charts, so simple. One leaf color charts, chart cost not then I think 40-50 rupees. And then the fertilizer nitrogen use efficiency can be increased to 15 to 20% by using that. I have conducted, our team, Dr. Jatt, and we conducted so many experiments in the Western UP earlier, and we have seen in intensively cultivated areas, 15 to 20% nitrogen efficiency can be very easily increased by simply rescheduling nitrogen application. So there are several actually ways. Technologies are there, but scaling those technologies and taking those to the actual user is a difficult thing. So changing the mindset, bringing this to the knowledge and increasing the awareness of the stakeholders is important. Otherwise, so the other important opportunity is integrated nutrient management. And there are so many actually, this is not a new term. We all know that integrated nutrient management is very important, and it enhances nutrient use efficiency, it improves soil carbon, it improves soil's physical and biological health. If fertilizer alone is not relied and some kind of organic input is there. But where are region specific INM packages? And there is our role. Whether we have region, because FIM is not available everywhere. Somewhere crop residues are there, somewhere green manure can be used, somewhere inclusion of legume is possible, not everywhere. So whether we have actually region-specific, area-specific INM packages to be given to the farmer, so that it is used. Otherwise, INM is undoubtedly, long-term experiments have proved, and that is really actually, one of the best way of improving soil health and sustaining the yield and improving fertilizer use efficiency. Even actually, see, induced defoliation. So many actually non-conventional ways. Induced defoliation was said in this shows actually in extra short duration pigeon pea, 10% urea spray at physiological maturity brings complete defoliation, which adds around 2.4 tons of fresh leaves in the field without harming anything, yield or anything, because crop is already reached at physiological maturity. Increases the yield of subsequent wheat. So several such approaches can be tried. Now, availability of manure is a big problem. So these are such issues actually which are, if you work with the farmer, you go to farmer, we know that, see, farmer knows that yes, farmyard manure is very important, earning manure is important, but earning manure is good quality, earning manure is not available. Either, see, in the rural areas now, workforce, nobody wants their children to soil hands with the Bangalore method, Indore method of composting. So children are there either schooling or studying in some colleges or somewhere. So some old couple is there staying in the village, and if you ask them to go for good quality compost and all these things, nobody is going to do that. Turning off compost and all those which we read in our books. Now mechanized composting. And mechanized composting also in cities, plants are there. Excel and other industries have established plants in the cities for city compost. Government has also brought out one project of a scheme of co-marketing of compost, city compost with the fertilizers, and give some incentive for that. But in the remote village, good quality compost is not available. Transporting city compost to the village increases the cost, so that becomes not affordable. Now, is it possible to go on a pilot scale on a community level composting plants, where the youth of that village, actually they work, they should be trained, they work in that village, come out with a good quality compost, and the compost remains available in the village. And some such mechanical composting plants are already available. IRI has developed one very good machines. Dr. Mishra is not here, and he was also a part of this, developing that machine and all. So community level composting plants, that is also need of the hour to popularize integrated nutrient management. Crop residue burning is not confined to Punjab and Haryana now. You go anywhere in the country, crop residue burning is there. Knowing well that this is such a good resource, particularly cereal crop residues, 70 to 75% potassium taken by the crop remains in residues. And if you recycle these residues, most of the potassium taken by the crop is actually returned back to the soil. But residue burning is becoming common. Now, this also needs not only technology, some technology are already there, but a very holistic, not only distributing machines are giving subsidy, that is subsidy on machines, but then a wholesome, technology package and a policy on that is needed, and work is going on at different platforms, but that is also very important, that how to have multiple use of these residues, because in those areas residues are actually produced, a huge amount of residue is produced, and if you say that entire residue will be actually retained in the surface in conservation agriculture, or entire residue will be composted, it's not possible. So you have to go for multiple options, and again incentivizing those multiple options, that is actually important, and that's what is is likely to solve the problem to some extent. Otherwise, this is a big, actually. Biofertilizers, several biofertilizers have come, and some of the students, those who are working in this area, but the consistency or of performance is very important, is a big challenge, because performance of biofertilizer in the field actually is governed by so many factors actually. So sometimes quality of biofertilizer itself is a problem, and sometimes the quality is not a problem, but other problems because of moisture, because of temperature and all those kind of conditions in the soil where biofertilizer is used. So even those who are working in biofertilizer for a long time, they are also actually not sure whether they are going to get response to the biofertilizer this year if they have got last. So that is also one of the reasons why biofertilizers are not becoming popular. So that is also a challenge and an opportunity to work, that how to bring in the consistency in the performance of biofertilizers. So this is also a researchable area actually. So by improving the strengths as such, by bringing in more virulent strains, by several measures, so this is an opportunity how we can do this. Conservation agriculture, I will not talk much, because conservation agriculture expert is sitting here, and you had a very good talk on conservation agriculture and regenerative agriculture. But what I want to say, that results have proven that this technology is really useful, and many people have now, those who were earlier not accepting it, they also, once you have experimentation, you have the data, then you know the strength of the technology. Sometimes we just, those who have not experimented with this and have not seen that database, sometimes they say, no, it's not working, this is not possible here, it is not possible there. But with some modifications, this is possible everywhere. And the technology, it improves soil organic carbon content, improves nutrient efficiency. As far as creation of database is concerned, what I was discussing earlier with Dr. Jad, be it conservation agriculture, regenerative agriculture, we have to be more focused on soil biological processes, data on soil biological processes. Now, in the name of natural farming also, in the name of organic farming also, emphasis is on soil biological processes. Sometimes soil biological processes are overhyped also, because these are going to solve everything, all problems. That is, may also not be correct. But again, we do not have a hardcore data on that. See, when you go for integrated use of nutrients, or you go for conservation agriculture, or you go for regenerative agriculture, how actually soil biota is changing, soil biological diversity, how it is changing, and whether there is change in their behavior, positive or negative, and how it is affecting soil biological or physical properties or nutrient release, or even carbon sequestration. So that type of actually information is not there. Some sporadic information is there abroad, but that information for our soils, for our conditions, need to be generated. Land use planning, very, very important, very critical. Director NBS LUP is sitting here, and I think we will be having his talk in the afternoon session. So important. See, many of the soil health problems will be resolved once we have a very, robust land use planning for this country. And the institute is there. Now government initiative is also there. And I think, but again, an actionable work plan, a faster work plan, and how you can really generate, bring out a land use policy, means land use plan at micro level, that will solve many of our problems. That is very much important. Now, these are some of the points which I wanted to actually underline. No extractive farming. The message has to go to the researchers, to the farmers, and wherever we come in touch with the farmers, no extractive. That is the only way to solve the issue of soil health deterioration. Soil biological processes, greater understanding needed. And this is exclusively researchers, stake. Greater understanding of soil biological processes. Soil information system is very much required. And I have already given, I will not read, I think you all are seeing these. These are some of the points which I wanted to highlight actually. And in the last actually, in my opinion actually in another 2 days, 1.5 days, these are the points which need to be actually discussed in this. The subsequent speakers and those who are associated with this, actually, we have to insist on discuss either in this platform, and if there is no, opportunity, then beyond this, after this also, in our university and our classrooms and these are the actually points. If we deliberate in the times to come on these points actually, and we will be really helping to address the problem of soil health deterioration. Thank you so much.
Big applause, please. So thank you very much, Dr. Dwivedi ji, for making your views very, very clear. In very, very simple words, in a simple manner, he tried to describe everything in correct perspective, and hardly there is a need to summarize all these things. Both the presentations were so clear and so up to the mark. It is already 2:30, doesn't matter, but these two unique presentations, they have set the tone for today's deliberations. I don't think anything is left in real sense. So you have got everything. Only thing now you have to synthesize, how to summarize, and make some recommendations out of that. So just for the benefit of the students, I will take a few excerpts from the presentation. I will not take much time, in a couple of minutes or 2-3 minutes. First, very important message which was set here. What I'm speaking this, because this is a very new understanding for you. Probably half of the students, they might not have heard the name regenerative agriculture. So from first presentation, one thing in simple words I would like to tell you that Dr. Jat has given wonderful presentation. In brief, if I have to tell what the regenerative agriculture is. So regenerative agriculture खेती करने की कोई पद्धति नहीं है, वो खेती करने का संस्कार है. रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर खेती करने की पद्धत नहीं है, वो खेती करणे का संस्कार है. मराठीत सांगायचं झालं तर सुसंस्कृत आणि शास्त्रोक्त शेतीला रिजनरेटिव्ह एग्रीकल्चर म्हणतात. जब आप सुसंस्कृत बोल रहे हो और संस्कारित बोल रहे हो, तो जैसे हम अपने घर में माँ बाप का इज्जत करते, भाई बहन की इज्जत करते, तो हमको कहते कि आप संस्कारी हो. ये संस्कार जब खेती में आ जाएंगे तो ऑटोमेटिकली हम रीजनरेटिव हो जाएंगे. एक और बड़ा पॉइंट डॉक्टर जाट ने आपको बताने की कोशिश की, वो ये है कि कंजर्वेशन एग्रीकल्चर, रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर बड़े नज़दीक भाई बहन लगते हैं, मौसेरे भाई लगते हैं. लेकिन एक फ़र्क ये हो जाता है कि जब आप कंजर्वेशन एग्रीकल्चर के साथ जाते हैं या ट्रेडिशनल एग्रीकल्चर के साथ जाते हैं, तो आप सिर्फ क्लाइमेट चेंज एडाप्टेशन की बात करते हैं या को बेनिफिट्स ऑफ एडाप्टेशन टुवर्ड्स मिटिगेशन तक आपकी अंडरस्टैंडिंग सीमित रहती है. जैसे ही आप रिजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर में आते हैं तो आप छाती ठोक के मिटिगेशन की बात एग्रीकल्चर में कर सकते हैं. तब तक आप सहमे रहेंगे. शायद एग्रीकल्चर में हम मिटिगेशन की बात कैसे करें, आप थोड़ा सा सहम जाएंगे. लेकिन यहाँ रिजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर में पूरी अपॉर्चुनिटी आपके पास होती है, जिसके तहत आप ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस को कंट्रोल करना, एलिमिनेट करना, मिनिमाइज करना, ऑप्टिमाइज करना, ये सारा कुछ आ जाता है, जिसके कारण डायरेक्टली आप मिटिगेशन वाले फॉर्म में आ जाते हैं. एक और बेनिफिट जो उन्होंने बताया, खाली गैसेस एमिशन का नहीं, रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर में आप पूरा डायस्पोरा जो सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल्स का है, उसको पूरी तरह से एड्रेस कर सकते हैं और आपकी कन्वेंशनल एग्रीकल्चर में नहीं कर सकते. तो नेचर पॉजिटिव एग्रीकल्चर के सारे जितने डायमेंशंस है, चाहे आपको उसको ऑर्गेनिक कर लो, चाहे नेचुरल कह लो, चाहे वैदिक कह लो, चाहे होमा फार्मिंग कर लो, वो सारे जो है आपके रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर का हिस्सा बनते हैं. तो इसलिए रीजनरेटिव एग्रीकल्चर कोई खेती करने की पद्धति नहीं है, वो एक संस्कार है. तो ये मैसेज आप ब्रॉडली लेके जाइए. Dr. Dwivedi का presentation was very crystal clear and very close to the theme of this today's deliberation. उसको अलग से summarize करने की आवश्यकता मैं नहीं समझता हूँ and hope that both the presentations आप लोगों ने बहुत अच्छे से enjoy किए होंगे and with this I would like to congratulate both the speakers of this day. Though we are marching ahead to 3 p.m. doesn't matter, but these two presentations they have made your seminar a successful one. So thank you very much both the speakers. And I thank the co-chairman Dr. Ismail and both the rapporteur Manish and Nitin. Both of them they were here. मैं अपने साथियों को बोलने के लिए माइक नहीं दे सकता हूं क्योंकि समय बहुत हो गया और मैंने ही सारा टाइम ले लिया और हमारे स्पीकर के साथ में. So thank you very much each one of you. Thank you. अगर ऑर्गेनाइजर्स का कुछ है तो.
Yes, may I request to chairman and co-chairman, please present the memento to today's keynote speaker, Dr. M.L. Jat sir, Global Director Research, ICRISAT Hyderabad. Please sir, come on the dais. नहीं, I just. Right. अच्छा
समय तो हो गया.
ये